like I was watching Ramayana yesterday, and there's Rishi Bharadwaj in Ramayana
Yes.
who has the largest Gurukul on planet Earth, and he was a scholar of Ayurveda, mantras, singing, spirituality, and a passionate teacher. So probably
Yes.
I'm not wrong if I say that Dr. Arun Bharadwaj is the modern age Rishi, and who also who also has a passion for thinking. What do you think about it, ma'am?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, so you spoke about inculcating ancient wisdom and the spirituality aspect to happiness. And this brings the thought that Priyanshu just raised, that brings me to my next question. How do you associate happiness with the ancient wisdom and spirituality?
Wonderful. Thank you for that question. So first of all, you are, when you say I'm being modern Bharadwaj, I'm humbled by thought. To tell you interestingly, that thought has provoked me to do what I did, because I don't know if you know, but Bharadwaj Rishi was one of the Sapta Rishis, 7 Rishis.
Yes.
And there was a lot of pain going on in the world. And that time, these Rishis had a conference and they decided that Bharadwaj Rishi was the only one capable of going up in the heavens and meeting with Indra, who had received this science of life from Brahma himself. And they felt that on earth also there's a lot of misery, and we should bring this science and share it with the human beings on earth. So actually, Bharadwaj Rishi had gone to heavens, learned this Vidhi of Ayurveda, Vidya of Ayurveda, and brought it to earth. So as funny it might sound, when I was listening to this story in a discourse somewhere, it just gave me that curiosity that, see, on one side, India is a nation with such a amazing cultural heritage and spiritual heritage. We were the spiritual gurus of the world. But now we have the highest number of cases of depression and stress related diseases, especially our corporates. So I started feeling that we have solutions which existed for thousands of years, but those solutions are not being utilized in the modern days. Why? Because nobody was able to understand or give explanation to things. And you people, the new generation, and even our generation, just delta little above you, we wanted to know why before we would follow anything. And our spiritual systems were not able to explain those whys to the left brain heavy or analytical minds. So my purpose in life now, Priya ji, it is that we should understand science or meaning or true sense behind all our ancient rituals and culture and value system and principles, and then explain to people in the language they understand today, right?
Wow.
So those kind of small things we are trying to bring into the world today. That's my aspiration, basically.
And sir, we see that you have an amazing journey all throughout your career. You were the part of industry like how we all are today, and you had your calling. You had your calling, and which is quite, after a really long time, you had that, encouragement. I don't know from where you got that motivation, but you had that calling, and you gave up your conventional life, and you went towards something that you felt happy with. Sir, what made you take that call? What were the things that you feel that lagged in your industrial career, which made you feel that there is something that's way beyond the industrial career?
Wonderful. Thank you for that. I think many people will have that question.
Yeah.
So thanks for giving me opportunity to respond to it. See, I was in corporate. I lived in US. I could have become citizen there, but there was a calling to bring back the knowledge, because I grew up in a very small town in Himachal, right? And I think the challenges that I faced in my life are my greatest motivational force. Like until 4th year of my engineering, I did not know what is CAT. Why? We were brilliant. It was not a problem that we did not know how to attempt things, and brain was there, but awareness was not there. Right time, right information did not reach us. So this became one of the passions now, how to communicate this to students, and that is one of the very strong motivations. So I came back from US, and here also when I was working with corporate and getting paid more than what I thought I need or deserve, so in all this physical sense or societal terms, I was successful. But whenever I used to think how what I am doing is making a difference in any other life in the world, I did not have any answer. So on one side, I was very passionate about human interaction, but on the other side, I felt that what I'm doing working with the corporate, it is very limited in the impact, and I thought I had more potential than that. So this feeling of that I am successful, but what I'm missing is significance, changed my life. And I want to again re-emphasize. I tell you, all of us are craving always to achieve success in life. And the day you will feel successful in the societal term and a physical materialistic term, I guarantee you, you will hear my words. That day you will realize you have success, but not significance. Because I'm meeting with people who have hundreds of crores of wealth. And after all their life, they realize that they have everything, but they do not have significance in life. I invite all of you to add a component of why my life is significant. Start thinking about it. Now, I want to make this conversation practical. I'm able to say all this because I planned my life. I made sure that I have sufficient wealth so I can take care of my basic necessities. If roti, kapda and makan, food, shelter and clothes remain our problem, we might not be able to think beyond ourselves. There are people who can think beyond themselves without even roti, kapda and makan, but I'm taking it as a practical thought. So please work hard. Please make sure that you reach a level in your life where basic necessities is not a fight for you, but don't wait for significance like me until that part in your life. Today, maybe you have 10 rupees. Maybe you have 1 hour available. Utilize that 1 hour, out of that at least 30 minutes to create significance in your life. If you have 100 rupees, utilize 50 rupees out of that to create significance in your life. Don't wait until I waited to create significance, because when you reach this part of life, you will remember and regret why you did not start early to follow your passion and touch hearts of people, which was my passion.
So brilliantly quoted. Purpose for life is something that we should be driven with. Like you mentioned, we can have success, all the success under the sky, but then if we don't have the purpose of a livelihood, how does it matter? That takes us to the next part of our podcast. Priyanshu?
Yes. The path of greatness requires a transformation to a higher self. So I've seen you telling about this in your videos. But so now transformation requires a change, a big change, and change is not natural to humans. So how do we facilitate this process of change, sir? Like, how do we sustain this process of change? Because it's just like this, as soon as we reach the cliff, we just feel like to jump and not continue it. So how is this process, can this process of change be facilitated?
Wonderful. See, when you are saying whatever you are saying, those experiences are when we are very self-focused. I want to achieve something. I want to achieve that height. And then people keep going, climbing, falling. If you see the recent news, you have one of the largest company that India has ever seen with a valuation of probably a $10 billion or whatever. The CEO, both CEOs had problem going on in their home, in their personal life. Both had relationship-related problems, right? Now just imagine a person who's worth few $1 billion, and if he comes home and in his home he does not receive a very welcome reception, what kind of life that person must be living? And many other cases where people have billions of dollars and now they have run out of the country and they are running and living like criminals. So that means money definitely cannot buy happiness, right? And self-success, which is only money and materialistic, desire-oriented, cannot buy success. Otherwise, all these people would have been happy. Now, second misconception we have, fame buys happiness. Now, if you see most of the people who had fame, that short duration of fame, later get into drug abuse, including Michael Jackson, because they just cannot handle that they have lost their fame. So fame also cannot buy happiness. So money cannot buy happiness. Fame does not bring long-term happiness. Third thing is buying stuff. Whatever you will buy after 1 month, 2 months, 6 months, you will not get happiness out of it. Now, our challenge is we are not purpose driven most of the time. We are very object, fame, and money driven, right? So our perspective have to change, right? When you are living a purposeful life, then you will always find the next reason, and the reason would be greater than these smaller motivation, which are very limited time motivation. I want to quote a person that I admire. I've not met him, but he has a very famous book. His name is Viktor Frankl. Viktor Frankl lived in Nazi camp. He almost got killed there. But he survived. He was very thin. People said, you will not survive for more than 2 weeks. He survived. Why? He writes in 2 lines summary of everything that I need to tell you. He says, give a man a why to live, and he can bear any how. That means if you have a purpose, you have a why to live for, any pain, any problem, any how that you have to figure out, you will figure out how to handle that. Problem is, we do not have long-term purpose. We are not seeded with the purpose. We are only seeded with this imagination and dreams of success. That means you have to get a good job, you have to get a lot of money, good house, etc. So if we want to continue, that transformation is required. And for that transformation, keep asking yourself, do you have a why to live for? Right. Do you have a why to live this day for? So let's start at the day level, week level, month level, then life level. When that why would be strong enough, we will keep getting that energy to move to the next peak from the first peak. And falling from peak is not bad either. Because all that I have become or anybody has become or you will become, it will be because you have fallen and you have learned from when you fell. And failure, I want to leave this as a last message on this topic. We have been taught failure is opposite of success, which is the greatest lie told to us. Failure is part of success. It is the only way you can continue your journey in life. Only thing is, we should not fail twice for the same reason. So continue. If you fail, learn from it and go on. Nobody has succeeded without failing. If you have succeeded without failing, you have not tried enough and you have not tried to full potential. Right, sir.
Brilliantly said, sir. In fact, that was one of the things that we wanted to highlight here to our audience also, that what you mentioned about the failure. We heard it from your videos, and it was something that took our attention. We are always taught to be the successful person in our stories. Yes. And we are told that if you're a failure, that means you are someone to not be acknowledged. Second person, the position second is never acknowledged for that matter. It's always the first position. So that's, yeah.
So I think we should start, probably students, I hope you will connect with this thought. I hope you will connect what I'm going to share. When you will start measuring your success with how many lives you have made difference, even smallest possible difference, whole life's perspective would change. And failure would be very different context to you now, right? Because we take everything so personal, so failures also become very personal because we think we are the ones doing all this. I am capable, I am the best, if I have been able to reach whatever in life, I say there is part because of my hard work, but there is a big part which is blessings, and I call that mystical factor, right? That mystical part is which causes your outcomes to be greater than your effort. We all are putting effort, but when we do these good things for the universe, I strongly believe there is that very magical part which I call blessings from your well-wishers in heavens. That blessings make all the difference. Some of us call it bhagya or luck, and that bhagya or luck is what decides that I will also put 2 plus 2. For me, answers might come as 6. Somebody else also will put 2 plus 2. The answer might be 4 or 3. And that 3, 4 or 6 is beyond our control. In our control is only that we can do something. Outcome is not in our control. So sometimes when the outcome becomes greater than your effort, I consider that to be a bhagya. And that bhagya comes from just having this virtuous feeling of making difference in life of others. So make that as your measurement criteria for your life success.
Thank you, sir. And for the adaptation and evolution part, sir, if you can just highlight how the organizations and the businesses can dare to take the risk to change with their customer preferences or maybe the changes in the market. It's very hard for the big MNCs to, change their strategies and invest in something and take risk. So how would you encourage them to adapt and evolve?
First to even reduce the importance of that question, let me just tell, either you become willingly ready to change or you will get changed. Option is yours, right? Whether we will have to change in business world, that question itself is irrelevant because you definitely with changing time will have to change. Question is, are you willingly changing? Are you making a plan and changing? Are you changing with the strategy, or you would be forced to change? Now you see what happened. Unfortunate that this quarantine is happening. I was very comfortable in delivering in-person programs, and that was my passion because I wanted to feel presence of people in front of me. So I never cared about developing programs for online delivery and all that, right? Now for 1.5 months, we are sitting at home. So I was pushed and I changed. Now I delivered some online programs. I had 500 plus people from 500 different houses connected. Engaging them for 5 days, it was a mammoth task. But this change forced me to change myself. Now, question to you is, do you want to willingly change by design or by environment changing suddenly? So some of the organizations that were already flexible, they were allowing employees to work from home. They already had infrastructure how to handle these situations, right? They had these kind of contingency measures in place. And some organizations, they had to immediately change. So that's why I keep saying, are you willingly changing or you will be forced to change? Option is yours. So no question, you have to change if you want to succeed in business. Actually, there is a very beautiful research and there's a TED talk also on it. What is one single most important factor for you to succeed as a person and organization? One single most factor. And that single most factor is identified as flexibility to change. Are you adaptable or not? Because if you are not adaptable, you are not going to survive for long. Whether it is a personal life happiness or it is an organization which is aspiring to succeed in the changing landscape.
Yes, sir, rightly said. In fact, there are situations like what we are facing today. They're all unprepared. We don't have any strategies already planned for such situations. And this is when what you mentioned, like working from home and all these things are coming up. Bringing the flexibility in picture. The next thing that we want to know from your side is targeting the youth. Targeting the youngsters like us and anyone who is listening to this podcast. So we are very ambitious in nature, to be honest. We always seek different things in our lives and we are never satisfied, to be honest. We always try to find happiness in something that we want to achieve. And that makes us feel unhappy in our present, which we now acknowledge somehow with time and with growth in our life, that's something that we need to understand, that being happy in what we can achieve is okay, but then not being unhappy about it in our present is not right. So what message do you want to give to the youth about it?
Many people say, I don't want to be happy. So I tell them, okay, it's up to you, because happiness is an inner feeling. So nobody can force somebody to become happy or unhappy. But I'm telling you that it is okay if somebody is not happy, doesn't want to be happy for whatever their own reason may be. But it is possible that you can experience feeling of happiness at any point of time. How? By having that mindset of happiness. Now, what is it? See, we have two mindsets. One is, if I become successful, I'll be happy. So I want to work hard. That's what is taught to us. Work hard, be successful, and then we will be happy. So like Priya just said, that every time we achieve that success goal, then the goal changes. We never have time to even enjoy that success. So we keep getting into that cycle of more success. And if we are unsuccessful, we have nothing to look forward to. We feel really depressed or unhappy. So what I'm inviting you to think, and this is what I mean by happiness mindset. I'm repeating this term again and again. Happiness mindset means the purpose of living should be, I want to enjoy what I'm doing. Figure out how to find joy in everything what you are doing, because you should not leave happiness to outcome of something. Happiness should be the whole purpose of living, and success should be a side effect of you getting involved passionately in something. So you folks many of the listeners are from National Institute of Food and Technology and Entrepreneurship, and Management, NIFTEM. So you folks should, if you just got into this because it was close to your home, or because your parents pushed you, because you could not go anywhere, then we have a trouble. If you got into this because you are passionate about food, you want to create something out of it, you want to create a business out of it, your purpose is that you want to give employment to other people around you, or you want to join a company and do something unique about it, the moment that purpose and love for what you are doing comes in, then you will not worry about that final exam scores. And fortunately now, like when I was living in the US, it really did not matter what degrees you had. what people cared about was, do you have skills and competency for a job? And you could start a new business, people will fund you, or you could join a new job, people will accept you just because you have amazing efficiency or competency for that role. India is also now changing. So I know it is important to get good marks and all that, but it is more important to do something what you are doing with purposefulness, and you do it for your own learning and you becoming a better human being, than just for the sake of that exam, which is just one goal. So if that exam you don't score very high mark, then you should not feel, oh, something world has changed. Why? Because you are confident. Your skill has definitely improved. Your competency definitely has improved. And that 3-hour exam does not do justice to your whole year of competency development, right?
Yes, sir.
So I think we should disassociate these two things. It should be, and you get good marks, that is very good. But do you feel happy? Are you feeling that you have utilized these 12 months to develop better yourself? Have you improved your competencies? That we should rejoice, we should celebrate.
Yes, so that should be one constant reminder to ourselves about, do you feel happy about your current situation? And so that takes me to my next question. So when we do a task, our mindfulness always varies with play, with time. We are never 100% alert to our tasks. We keep thinking about something else that, of course, maybe something that makes us feel happy. So do you suggest any processes for us to increase our mindfulness towards our activities and bring best out of ourselves?
And especially during exams, sir, because this percentage of wandering somewhere outside exponentially increases during exams. So especially, sir.
To me, it was reverse actually. Even today also, when I was some of you might connect with me.
Okay.
Most of my poems I have written night before toughest exam. Somehow brain used to become so focused and creative that other than that subject, I used to think of everything. And most of my poems were created the night before. So it was very interesting. And my friends used to hate me for that, because everybody used to be like cramming and mugging and sitting and doing whatever. And suddenly I will say, "Arey yaar, maine ek nayi kavita likhi hai, suna dun." They used to hate me. But I think mind does become focused, towards the end. But to answer your question, the mindfulness, there are two things I will suggest to you. One is little cliche, which is basically there is a systematic process of achieving mindfulness, which is that breathing techniques and pranayama and all that, because mindfulness is basically training your concentration to be at the point, thought or object of desire, your desired thought, right? You want to focus your attention at a desired object, thought or a place, which does not happen. Your mind keeps shifting. So like how we developed our muscles, the same way we develop our mental muscles also. And probably we can do a separate talk on that itself, how that process. Again, your interest plays a great role. If you are doing something that you find interesting, then mindfulness improves, right? You are more concentrating, as you would have seen. If you watch a movie or if you read a novel, if you really like it, you don't have to cram. You remember everything. So it is a data that your mind has acquired, and you remember everything about that data because it was in an interesting story form. But then you say, wow, how come I do not remember my subjects the same way? Because you're spending too much of energy worrying about I need to pass, I need to get good marks. You're not enjoying what you are doing, and you're not creating it in a story form. So I always felt that one, you can practice mindfulness. That's a meditative technique which definitely improves your concentration level. Second, it is very important to have a very good group of friends. They should keep reminding each other what is the purpose of what you guys are doing. Because the moment you know why you are doing what you are doing, you will figure out how to do it better, right? So these are two thoughts that I have. One is form a group with a common purpose. They keep reminding each other of the purpose of life. And second, you are very welcome to try some of the techniques of meditation that are built to focus our brain. Our brain has a natural tendency, and I will probably do a video blog or something on that also, something called default mode network. So we always go into future and past. So knowing that our brain has this capability, we need to keep it engaged in something interesting. And that's the only way you can be mindful.
So we look forward to your blog as well for that. Thank you so much for your insights, sir.
Yes, Priya ji, बताइए.
So thank you so much, sir, for your time. We are really happy, sir. Like we could collaborate with you for our first episode, and we couldn't think of any other topic to discuss about, because the aim of the podcast, sir, like you must be knowing, it's like broadening our horizon and critically thinking about the situations of society, and cascading that energy to like and drive businesses and even your decisions, individual decisions. And we couldn't think of any other topic but happiness to start with our podcast series.
Beautiful. So it's a good initiative. I congratulate you. Best wishes for the success for the future programs also. The whole idea now for me, the programs I'm doing, I'm talking about utilizing lockdown to unlock happiness, because this is the time, very unprecedented time. But on the other side, this is a time when all of us can stay with our families. So let's spend quality time with our family members and get prepared. Not forget that when the time is back, right, we have to utilize our skills. So let's not forget about growing. So I shared in the end my takeaway from this, or my final takeaway note for all of you. Remember 3 G's of happiness. First one is growth. So make sure you utilize this time to grow yourself. Think about your purpose in life. Think about what you want to live your life beyond your own self. How would you make change in anybody's life? That's what will give you growth. Now, second, how you can start that process? You can start that process by feeling gratitude towards things that have happened in your life, good things that have happened in your life, and then share your gratitude with others also, those who have done good things to you. And third thing is about giving. Give your time, your love, your prayers to whoever you can. If you're staying with your parents and family, give your love, share your time with them, take care of them at this time. And if in your neighborhood, after this, if you can help other people, please do that as well, right? So these 3, and the 4th thing that I mentioned was, when you find a why, you will figure out how. So have a very strong purpose for your life. And remember, success, those people who are happiness leads to success a lot more than success leads to happiness. Our society is success focused. I'm inviting you to think that we should be happiness focused, where success would be a side effect. Success should not be purpose of our living. Purpose of living should be that what I am doing is creating joy in my life, and because of me, there is joy getting created in someone else's life. So with that, thank you very much for having me. You have my coordinates. All of you are very welcome to reach out to me. My website is www.arunb.com. And if you have any question, you can find all my coordinates, my Facebook, my LinkedIn, my email from that website. So I hope to connect, and I hope whatever I've shared, it is going to bring some value. Please do not keep this as a concept. I would love to hear from you. Value of this podcast would be realized when I receive an email from one of you and saying that what we learned from that podcast has made a difference in my life. Because when that email comes, I would have lived my purpose, which is leaving people happier than I found them. Thank you very much, Priya and Priyanshu, for giving me this opportunity to speak to all of you and all of the youngsters. I would love to be back whenever there's a new topic that you guys.
So here we are winding up our first episode with our guest, Dr. Arun Bhardwaj.
We hope that you got to learn from this, have some insights, and this will force you to think about all the issues which we discussed.
We are open to suggestions and feedbacks. Please send us a comment on our YouTube channel.
Keep following our channel, The Quarantine Podcast, on YouTube and Spotify, and tune in to Complete Freedom.